Okay, so first combat using the new pointlessly complicated TTRPG system. Let's go. First things first, we need to simulate the surprise round. Since this is a surprise encounter, everyone needs to roll insight to determine how soon you realise it's fighting time. Now take half that roll value, and for every 2 above 8, you get a bonus to your upcoming dexterity roll, while for every 2 below 9, you get a penalty. Now, roll that dexterity with your bonus, or penalty, and if your new total exceeds the attack roll of the surprise strike of your character, then you take no damage. Oh, you rolled a critical failure? Damn, that means the surprise strike is an automatic critical hit. Wow, 3 of you took hits. 1 of you was able to dodge. Now, using the same insight bonus or penalty, roll your speed checks to start laying out the base turn order. Every turn, each combatant gets a chance to improve their place in the turn order by making immediate initiative. You roll your initiative dice, which is determined by your class, and if you roll over 3/4 of the dice value, you gain a point to add to your speed check for the remainder of the combat. While if you roll under 3/4, you lose a point. Now, we roll for random events. I roll a D100 for each of you and read off the table to see if anything makes you faster or slower this round. And it looks like our fighter takes a penalty for getting their sword stuck in its sheath, while the monk manages to make use of their existing momentum to get a free early combat action. Finally, we see if the fastest creature's speed check exceeds double the next highest, and if so, they get to take 2 combat actions.
I am actually impressed. One turn just nailed it.
Jesus. Oh my god. Well, there we go. That's that.
That was impressive. Well done.
I'm dying.
Well, don't die. We've got a podcast to do. Hi, this is R&R, and we're making podcasts. I'm Pine, and this is my friend Sounds of the Wild. I really don't know what you want from me here.
That was perfect. Why did you stop? For fuck's sake. We're 5 episodes in. We should be professionals by now.
I don't think we've done an intro since the first one.
We say hi-ish.
Do we? I feel like we get a little bit of, oh, that was an interesting introduction to this episode that we're going to do. Okay, now we're jumping on this thing.
We at least acknowledge that we've started. Oh, I give up. Let's just jump on the fucking, what did I call it earlier? The rainbow space-time dragon. That's what we're using today to get from section to section. Go! That was a turbulent flight. Did you like it?
It was so fun. Oh, I loved all the rainbows.
That's what inter-space-time space looks like? Question mark? What's it called, the space between space?
I don't know. I don't know.
You're a physicist. Write in today. Tell us.
Oh, beautiful.
What are we talking about today, Pine?
We are talking about, we're talking about systems, because we've spoken mostly about D&D in the last few games, and there's been a bit of a controversy about D&D, so...
I mean, we're a bit late to that
very
discussion,
late.
But who cares?
But anyway, so... It seems that people seem to be getting a lot more interested in other systems, which is great for me because I love other systems. They're so good. I mean, D&D is great, but I like other systems as well. So we get to talk about other things.
Other things.
If I'm not mistaken, you don't know too much about any of the other systems.
I've seen some systems that are very specific to certain scenarios and like they're designed for one specific world. Whereas I know what you're going to talk about mainly, or one of the ones, Pathfinder, because Pathfinder is like the next biggest, right? Is another system that's designed to be used however you like, right?
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But yes, mine are very much, this system was designed for this universe. So I've seen a few people play and watch those systems for entertainment purposes and thought I'd just chat about how they use dice, specifically, how they use dice to determine outcomes.
Nice. Yeah. going to be interesting because I think you know of different ones than I know about.
Yeah, it's because I was about to say I'm a slut for YouTube. I don't know if that's quite, appropriate. I've said it now. I'm a slut for YouTube, and there's some people I watch who like to play role-playing games, and I've seen them play the two systems I'm going to talk about, so they're fun.
Okay.
Also, I'm a maths nerd, and using dice to turn outcomes is fun. I don't know if anyone's noticed that over the last few episodes.
No, I think you've completely gone under the radar with that.
Nice. What are we starting with?
I was about to ask you. Would you like me to go first?
You go first. Your one's more fun.
It's not more fun. Mine is the first one is very much related to D&D, which is Pathfinder. And the reason it's very much related to D&D is because it's based off of a D&D system, basically. The people, I believe it was started by people who worked on D&D 3.5 and then took that system and changed bits to make their own version of it called Pathfinder. And Pathfinder's got a second edition now, but I know a lot more about the first edition than I do of the second edition. But it is very, very similar to D&D in the fact that you use basically all the same dice. It's a very similar system. You have similar classes, but it's a lot more number crunchy.
Ooh, numbers, tell me more.
Yeah, so you've got, one of the first things, you've got 3 different armor classes that you have. So you've got your normal AC, which I believe is your armor rating plus your dexterity bonus. You've got your touch AC, which is your AC without adding your armor or shield bonus. So that's for they've got specific touch spells. And I believe guns use touch AC for when they're attacking to hit. But you've also got flat-footed, which is when you start combat, before your round, your turn in the round, in the first round, you've got flat-footed AC because you're not fully expecting the battle yet. So that is basically.
Whoa. You mean the bullshit I made up for this intro almost sounds something reasonably related to what happens in Pathfinder? I literally made everything up in that intro. I didn't take any references. I was like, what can we do about taking initiative?
Yeah, basically. So you all roll for initiative, but before your turn, you've got flat-footed AC, which is your normal AC, but you take away your dex bonus. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those that is more complicated, but that makes it a bit more, I don't want to say realistic, it makes it nerdier.
I mean,
which
these
is
are
one
all
of the
sorts of
reasons.
things. These are all sorts of things that happen in video games anyway. But obviously, when video games do it, it's all happening behind the scenes by a computer, so no one notices.
Yeah.
But like you say, it makes things more in depth and realistic-ish.
Yeah.
Even if for beginners it means bending your head over and doing a much more sums at the early game.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, the thing that I like about the touch AC for Pathfinder is that it makes sense in my head because just trying to touch someone to cast a spell on them is completely different from trying to stab through someone's armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But another reason why I like it, that's cool, but the main reason why I like it is because they have so many different classes. They've got so many more classes than D&D has.
Tell me more. What's your favourite that isn't in D&D?
I can't think of the name of it right now, but I think it's something like a war mage or something, which is basically you have a weapon, so you use your weapon as your...
Pine, are we the same person? I've literally been saying, since we started D&D, my go-to RPG character is a spellcaster who uses a weapon.
Yeah.
And you're now telling me your favourite Pathfinder class is the one that has a spellcaster and uses a weapon.
Yeah, so they use a weapon to like cast their spells through the weapon, I believe.
Oh, I love it.
But there's also a class called the which is a witch. Oh, they are so interesting.
Is the witch? Is it like traditional witchcraft, like
Yeah.
Shakespearean, demonic, put things in a cauldron, say some magic phrases, sort of witchcraft stuff? More like esoteric magic rather than just like fireball.
I haven't. See, I have read a lot into Pathfinder and such, but I haven't played it, so I don't know the specifics about different bits. Because I haven't had anyone who wanted to play Pathfinder, so I'm not 100% sure. I believe they do still have a spellbook like a wizard.
I mean, it kind of makes sense that they'd have spells, but
Yeah,
because
but
you need something for combat. But I've always liked the idea of the more esoteric magics, where it's not just you say a magic word and do a magic motion and stuff happens. It's more like things represent things. I guess kind of like how components exist. Anyway, I'm rambling. You carry on.
No, I was going to say that one of the great things about witches is when they cast a spell that's like got a duration, they can extend the duration of those spells by cackling.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is actually incredible.
Yeah, I believe it takes up their move action. So, but yeah, if they just stand and cackle, they can extend their spells by one round.
I'll be completely honest. That has made my head canon for every witch in every media I've ever seen twisted. Whenever I see a witch cackling as she's defeating someone, I'll think, oh, she's just expending a spell. That's nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's good. I do like it. There's so many cool things in there. There's also got something called prestige classes, which is something you want to look into before you start a level 1 character, because you can't go straight into a prestige class. You have to kind of build towards it. So they have requirements of class, levels in a class, feats you've taken, and like stats. But they give you some really cool advanced abilities as well.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Yeah.
But what about, I guess this is kind of overlapping to what I'm going to talk about, but what about regular skill checks? Do they all work the same?
A lot of them, well, you do get a lot that are the same, like athletics, acrobatics, different bits and pieces, but you've also got ones that are, you've got like separate knowledges. So instead of having someone who's just proficient in history or that kind of thing, you've got knowledge local, which is how much you know about things within the area. You've also got things like knowledge, I don't know whether it's knowledge fisherman or if fisherman is a like class that you can put points into. I believe it is, but I think you've got different knowledges anyway, like knowledge dungeoneering, to see how well you remember paths through the dungeon that you've gone through and what to expect and different creatures that you can create in there. Experience in there. But also in saving throws, instead of having 6, you've only got 3, which are will, fortitude, and constitution. No, hang on. Fortitude is will.
I was going to say, fortitude and constitution sound very similar.
Hang on, let me find it. Will, fortitude, and reflex. That's it.
Reflex. Oh, that makes sense. So it's like mental, physical, and movement.
Yeah.
That's sensible.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's definitely a bit more crunchy, but with the crunch, you get a lot more possibilities through that as well.
Oh, you've got to have some nice texture in a meal. You've got to have a bit of crunch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Spicy. Now, you've written as a specific bullet point character progression. I think you've already touched on it, but how in depth does it go? Like, is there loads more to decide when you level up, things like that, or? So,
you obviously get your abilities through your classes. You get feats at certain levels. you also get... So you can add points in D&D to your main stats, your charisma, your constitution, dexterity stuff.
Uh-huh.
When you increase in levels, you can put extra points into the individual skills.
Ooh.
So rather than like being just proficient in like a skill, you can put points into it. So you can... I'm not sure how many. I think it depends what class you are to how many you get on the level ups. But you could, if you were, say, a rogue, just put like the majority of your points into stealth and have like a plus 27 stealth.
I am invisible.
So, yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Gods cannot see me.
But that's the other thing you'll find in D&D, actually. They're not D&D, Pathfinder. The pluses they get to each individual skill is a lot higher. So it's not just like if you get to a 10, then that's amazing. You can get like plus 22 on certain skills and stuff, like maybe more. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
I assume that implies the existence of significantly harder difficulty classes.
I think you can get like DC 30 stuff.
I mean, those occur in D&D, but it's like for level 20 players, and it's very rare, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can get like DC 30. I believe the highest I've heard of is DC 35, but I don't know whether they go any higher than that.
Intriguing. I'm going to put you on the spot now. I've been waiting to ask this since we decided this was going to be the topic for the podcast, which was probably about 2 months ago because we've had a massive break because of busyness. Is there anything stopping you from saying to our group, I'm changing our campaign to a Pathfinder campaign?
So...
And will you do it? Do you want to do it? Let's do it.
See, as much as I would love to, I don't know whether everyone would appreciate going through the changes of having to convert all their characters into Pathfinder characters, and learning a new system partway through the campaign. I feel like it would really slow down the campaign for a while everyone was learning the system. The main reason I picked D&D over Pathfinder when I said I'd run is because it is a lot simpler system, and like the people I were bringing in, I think only one other person had played. I think 2 people had played before, and one of them was still relatively new. So I was like, I don't want to overload people with all these stats and stuff and put them off.
But we're all obsessed with it now. We're all massive nerds. We're all dice goblins. Everyone, they're all listening, right? All of them are going to listen because I trust that they do. And they're going to be like, Pine, what are you talking about? Let's do Pathfinder. I bet they are. I don't know. Maybe they'll be like, I don't have the time. But still, I'm intrigued.
I'm more than happy to run like a one-shot or a short Pathfinder stint just so people can have a see how it differs. To see how people like it, but whenever I've brought it up to people in the past who I know like systems have not been the most keen of Pathfinder, so I just stopped bringing it up.
I mean, it's come up so many times, again, since we decided this was going to be a podcast topic between then and now. It's come up so many times pre-session. I know for a fact that Jar Jar's raved about it before. Was it last session or the session before last? I remember it coming up. I was like, shut up, I want to ask about this on the podcast. So, I don't know.
We can run some one-shots and see how it goes.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm excited. But, I like number crunching, so...
Yeah, I
made my career out of it. More or less.
I do have a few pre-written Pathfinder one-shots, so I'll have to pull one out.
Excellent. Do you have anything further to say about Pathfinder?
Not particularly about Pathfinder, but Paizo, who make Pathfinder, also have... Well, they've got Pathfinder 2nd Edition. They've also got Starfinder, which is all spacey-fied, which is really cool as well. I don't know as much about that, but there are some really cool races in there, and you get starship combats, which are done on like hexagons and stuff. But yeah, I don't feel confident enough with it to talk about it in much more detail. But it
I
is,
wish we did hexagonal stuff.
yeah.
Not we, just in general.
I mean,
Pet peeve that has nothing to do with what they're talking about right now. I hate diagonals in D&D on square grids because as a mathematician who's been like rigorously trained through my degree to be like, you must be precise and definite, and we're just like, every other diagonal is 10, whatever. It roughly approximates root 2. Who gives a shit? Oh, the circle. Who gives a shit? It's just squares and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, I hate it.
I'm gonna break you now. You can actually do the Pathfinder maps in hexagonals.
I mean, you can do D&D maps in hexagonals, can't you?
Yeah, that's what I meant. The D&D maps in hexagonals.
I know, but we don't because it's just easier to do squares.
Oh, we could try and do hexagonals.
Plus, the maps are easy to design because a lot of buildings have right angles in them, right? Whereas they don't tend to have 120 degrees or whatever the inverse of that is of hexagonal shapes.
Okay.
And you'd have to do paths that go like, instead of going north, south, east, and west, they have to go like north and then southwest by south or whatever shit. I don't know.
Okay.
But for distances, squares suck.
You could always design the map on squares and then put hexagonals on it.
Would that? What? Who? That sounds even worse. You monster. What are you doing? It's an abomination.
I've put the options out there.
I'll tell you what, speaking of abominations, I'm going to jump the gun a bit. Well, I'm not jumping, I'm going to move on.
Okay.
Pathfinder sounds cool. I want to try it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I demand.
Okay.
A Pathfinder one shot.
Okay.
Rudely. But yeah, speaking of abominations, one of the systems I'm going to talk about, very briefly, is Call of Cthulhu. Ooh. Spooky, Lovecraftian, eldritch horrors from dimensions beyond imagination that will just send your sanity plummeting. That's the world. 1920s, lots of like murder mysteries where the murder, you think it's just a murder mystery, but it turns out, oh, it was a spooky monster thing in the closet that's been there all along. I don't know. But yeah, the way they actually do skill checks in Call of Cthulhu is kind of similar, kind of different. So you have your stats.
Right.
But your stats aren't bonuses, they're fixed numbers between 0 and 100.
Okay.
And the higher they are, the better you are at that thing.
Makes
and when
sense.
you want to do a skill check, you roll a D100 and you want to get lower than your skill.
Okay.
Which is weird because obviously we used to D&D where you want to roll higher than a DC. But in this way round, it's the DC is your skill level and you want to go lower.
Yeah.
And crits aren't, natural ones, because who's ever going to get a natural one at D100? Obviously, it does happen. It's going to be so rare that no one ever cares about it. So crits are just, if you score 1/5 of your skill level or lower, then you get a crit. So if your skill is 50 and you score 10 or lower, boom, crit.
Damn, okay.
I mean, that's basically the only dice to use. There's also damage dice, but damage seems to be, from the shows I've seen that have done Call of Cthulhu, damage is a rarity. It's more about solving the mystery or discovering what the eldritch horror is.
Okay.
But all the skill checks and stuff, including sanity, which is obviously one of the key stats because everyone's going insane about this shit. Yeah, it's all done with D100s, and that's it. And I'm like, why would you pick D100s? They're the worst dice. And not just because it's split in two, but again, being a mass nerd, all the other dice are perfect solids, and they're just perfectly regular and amazing. And you take the D10, and it's got that weird half star shape where there's 2 5 triangles mashed together, and it's just like, the fuck is this shit? I'm in a very ranty mood today, apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
I don't have anything against Call of Cthulhu. I just have everything against D100s.
Okay.
The end. But yeah, that's Call of Cthulhu. What do you think?
I think that's pretty interesting. Call of Cthulhu is a system that I've heard of before, but I've never really looked into it.
I mean, it's obviously very, very horror based, and
yeah,
I don't know if even anyone in our group would be fully interested in horror RPGs. Maybe they would. I don't know. I never asked, but I think I'd probably be all right for 1 or 2 short campaigns in that kind of setting.
Yeah.
Certainly not a long thing. I don't know if Call of Cthulhu is really designed for long-term campaigns, but
I don't know.
of all of the horror themes, to be fair, Lovecraftian abyssal aberrations and stuff are my favourite, which is why I've heavily featured aberrations in my campaign. Hee hee hee. Hoo hoo hoo. Spoilers? Well, that's not really spoilers. You've already come across like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, they've been ever present.
So
Got
that's
a
a nice
grey fish that tried to eat us.
Oh, the aboleth. I don't know if anyone else would describe that as a grey fish, but sure.
It was grey.
It was
Wasn't it?
grey and it was enormous.
Fishy. It was in a lake, therefore it is obviously a fish, right?
To be fair, to quote Star Wars, there is always a bigger fish.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Call of Cthulhu. Nice and basic. You just got your number, roll under it. Hardly any maths at all, apart from the 1/5 bit. And speaking of Star Wars, segue onto the next one. Star Wars Edge of the Empire is another system that's run, obviously, specifically for Star Wars. There's actually quite a few Star Wars systems, I think, and the one I'm talking about is also used in other what's the acronym? I've forgotten how to speak.
TTRPGs.
Including, I think, Warhammer, I discovered literally just before this podcast. And that's the narrative dice system, which is almost exactly the opposite. It's not simpler, it's way more complicated, and I love it. So, in that system, there's not just success and failure and crit or whatever. There's actually like 3 different tiers of successfulness, and you roll them all at once. So you've got your basic success and failures, and these appear on the dice. They're not numbers, they're just, this is a success on this face, this is 2 successes on this face, this is a failure on this face, sort of thing. So there's not like actual numbers on the dice.
Right.
There's numbers of successes. And then there's successes and failures. Then on the sort of less important scale, there's threats and advantages, which also appear on different dice. And then on the more important scale, there's triumphs and I forgot what they call critical failures, but basically critical failures. And so when you say, I'm going to do this, the DM can be like, oh, throw in a bunch of these difficulty dice. You're proficient at this skill, so have some advantage dice from your proficiency. And then you roll like 15 dice, pretty much, and then count up all of the successes, failures, threats, advantages, and if there were any triumphs and critical failures. And you basically give the net. So like successes and failures cancel each other out.
Okay.
Triumphs and advantages cancel each other out. I don't even know if you can actually get, not triumphs and advantages and threats. I don't actually know if you can get critical successes and critical failures in the same roll. I've never actually played it myself. But then you say, oh, I got a failure, but with 3 advantage as like your net total. And then the DM will be like, or GM rather, will be saying, of course you failed what you were trying to do, but, oh, that guy you were trying to shoot, he falls over. So the next person who's going to shoot him is going to be easier to shoot him because you had to dodge your shot. Because that's what the advantage bit does.
Okay, cool.
Which I think is nice because like the name says, you can actually generate extra narrative from the results being more detailed.
Okay.
Which I think we do in D&D to a slight extent.
Yeah.
I think I've said this before on the podcast because we're bad DMs and don't just use DCs as DCs. We use them as like a, how well did you do? So if the DC was 13 and someone rolls a 19, oh, they did really well.
Yeah.
Even though in the rules it's meant to be, oh, they succeeded. But
Wouldn't
yeah,
say
that's
that
narrative dice.
Wouldn't say that makes us bad DMs.
Well, we're bad at following rules, which doesn't necessarily make us bad. That makes us good DMs. Hooray, rules are made to be broken.
Yeah.
How did you like my rant that tried to sum up narrative dice in 2 minutes?
No, it was good. Well efficient.
I like
words.
it because details and lots of dice, and who doesn't want to be a dice goblin? The only problem is you have to work out how many dice you've got every roll.
Okay.
You have to learn all the symbols for failures, threats, advantages, successes, triumphs, and all that stuff.
Right.
So you roll these like 10 dice, and then you're just sitting there for 20 seconds trying to count out what you actually got.
Okay. That's fair.
I've got a bit overexcited.
It's fine. It's good. It's good. We need to be passionate on this podcast.
I love things.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever take anything away from this podcast, it's that I love things. Pine, do you love things?
I love so many things.
Pine also loves things. Hooray, we love things.
I love things. Right.
So yeah, that's how Age of the Empire worked, which is good fun. I've seen a good few episodes of that. It looks fun.
Yeah.
A couple of rascals doing jobs for the hut, trying to steal stuff, and they go and do the rolls and get critical failures, and it's hilarious. And Darth Vader shows up, and oh no!
Oh, sounds amazing. I do really want to do some adventures in space at some point.
Well, stay tuned.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So you wanna
Do you like my dice systems?
Huh?
They're not my dice systems, but you like them anyway.
Yeah, they're cool dice systems. It's definitely interesting. Trying to hear about another dice system?
Yes.
Yeah. So, this one is one that I put on the list that really confused you.
It did. Because I thought you were trying to introduce us a new podcast segment. But it's just the name of a different system that could be the name of a podcast system. I kind of think it would be a good podcast segment anyway.
It would be, yeah. We'll have to think about adding it. But this tabletop RPG is called Monster of the Week. Which is cool.
Tabletop RPG Monster of the Week. Did you ever see Harry Hill's TV Burp?
Yeah.
I just thought I'd completely rip that off just for a second there. Carry on.
Terrible.
That's gonna be nothing to so many people who didn't grow up in Britain in our age bracket.
Oh dear. Well, Monster of the Week is, so much as it's suggested, a monster hunting tabletop RPG that requires investigating mysteries, solving clues, finding clues, solving puzzles, finding monsters, and taking them out, mostly. This game, again, is not one that I've played, and I unfortunately do not have any books for, but I've done some reading. And I have listened to a podcast where they play it, which is really interesting. But it works on a system where the only dice you roll is 2d6.
Wowee.
And I
have 2d6 right now.
Huh?
I have 2d6 right now.
Okay, roll 2d6.
Hold on, I'm actually trying to find them. I'm blind. Rolling 2d6. I got 2 2s.
Oh, that would not be good. You would have failed, and you would incur a consequence.
A consequence?
Yes. See.
Oh no, not consequences. Everyone knows the TTRPG consequence is the worst.
But one of the reasons why I love this system, or at least I think it's really interesting, is that the DM never rolls any dice.
Ooh.
So the outcomes of situations are completely just depending on what the players roll, depends on how well certain situations go, and it's a lot more I want to say it's a lot more RP based than most systems. So you've got different stats. I think they're cool. I'm gonna find them. Bear with me. Oh no.
You've lost your stats and I've lost my water. Where did my water go? Water disaster.
Oh yeah. So depending on your class and the options that you pick, it depends whether you get any pluses or minus to charm, cool, sharp, tough, or weird.
I will be completely honest, those sound like top Trump stats.
So, charm is obviously charisma, talking to people, a base stat. Cool is like how you keep your cool under pressure.
Sehr cool, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I went to German. Why did I go to German for that?
I don't know.
I think it's because there's an episode of QI where people suggested that the word cool was invented by Hitler, but never mind, carry on.
Okay. Sharp is obviously like intelligent, how much keen eye and stuff you've got. Tough is obviously how much damage you're able to take. And weird is to do with magic and such, like supernatural. But yeah, each different. I don't think there's that many classes that you can take, but each one has different moves that you can take. So the main things that you do in this game while investigating is you'd say something like, we've stumbled across this crime scene. I would like to investigate a mystery. And the DM will go, okay, we'll roll 2d6, and you add...
That sounded so Scooby-Doo, and I love it. Okay, we've got a mystery on our hands.
You add the relevant or take away the relevant modifier, and then depending on how well you roll would depend how many questions you'd ask. And you've got set questions, which is like, what happened here? What sort of creature is it? What can it do? So you're gathering information. And in combat, you roll to kick some ass.
Of course you do.
Which is amazing.
Scooby-Doo meets Kung Fu Panda. I like it.
Exactly. And yeah, if you roll above 10, then you can do you can make your attack better. If you roll in the middle, then I think you and the creature both do harm to each other. And then if you roll below 6, then the DM tends to take a harsh move, which can be extra damage or putting you into a situation or something. But
below 6? It's really easy to roll below 6 on 2d6. That's so harsh.
Is it below 6? It might be below some.
Okay, I rolled a 7, but never mind. I mean, that is the most likely roll to get. Carry on.
But no, I just think it's it's a very interesting system, and it's very, like I say, it's a more reactive system than D&D, because obviously D&D you plan and prep and you set DCs for things, and you're leading the party through adventures, and you are doing the same in Monster of the Week, but the players have more effect on what happens, I think, and how the story plays out. But yeah, it's really interesting.
I like
spooky system.
Spooky
System, and there's lots of different monsters.
It sound more and more like Scooby-Doo by the minute.
It is called Monster of the Week, and you fight vampires and stuff.
Monsters? Where?
Yeah,
beautiful. I like it.
That's about the extent of my knowledge on it, though.
I mean, that's fair enough. We're telling people about stuff. If they find it interesting, they can go find out more.
Yeah.
And do stuff.
It's good system.
Just reading these notes, I realised we've been a dumb. We've been a dumb.
Okay.
We really should have got Danny Boy in for this episode.
Oh, we should have done.
Because he could actually tell us all about the campaign that he's prepared and then not actually started, because none of us have ever been around at the right time, / is meant to fill in the gaps. But then if it's filling in the gaps when people are away, then they're not going to be there to play it, so it doesn't make sense. But anyway, Danny has prepped, and we've all made characters for a Star Trek Adventures campaign.
Yes. Yeah.
And I jumped on the bandwagon. I've never watched an episode of Star Trek. I've seen half of one of the newer films. Space is fun. And I love the people we play with. So I was like, sure, I'll play. I haven't got a clue how the system works. So we should have got Danny on, A, to actually teach me how to play before we play it.
Yeah.
And B, to explain how it works.
Yes.
Because that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, too late.
Yeah.
You missed your chance, Danny. You're never going to be on the podcast now. Never. Never ever.
Well, I'm going to ruin your thing there and say that maybe you should be on the podcast, and we should have a spacey themed episode where we can talk about that.
Ooh.
And Spelljammer.
Ooh, very, very, very clever.
Yeah.
I like it. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
We should get guests on as well, given that, like, since we started playing D&D, half of the party now DM. I mean, Giles obviously DM'd before us and stuff.
Yeah.
He's been a nerd about it for years.
I think
we play in Forest campaign, so yeah, we should get everyone on eventually, I think.
Yeah. The only person who doesn't currently play in our main game, who is not DMing, is Leaky, and that's just simply because he doesn't have time.
I mean, he owns like more books than the rest of us, doesn't
yeah.
he?
Yes,
He's
he
got all the
does.
books now. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have time to write anything, which is sad. I'd love to, because I feel like he loves going into his Scottish heritage and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, all of his characters so far have been, well, not all of them, but most of them have been like Scottish based, which is great.
Yeah.
With names that no one can pronounce the first time. And if he were to actually go into that with some proper historical background and context, that would be great.
That would be.
Or he could go with anything completely. I'm not saying he has to. It's not a stereotype or anything, but just because I know he likes it. That would be awesome. I would love to do something run by Leaky as well, but it's a shame. He's a busy boy.
He is a very busy boy. Being all
But we love him
successful
anyway.
and stuff.
I know, right? Man, and doing charity work.
Proper adulting.
Imagine having time for that stuff.
God.
Ignoring the fact that I do it every December. Moving on. I don't actually know if there's much to talk about in this last section because we've kind of covered some of it. It's just there's loads of sort of media and existing, I don't know how to word this. IP, that's the word. There's loads of systems out there that are dedicated to a specific IP. I've already mentioned Edge of the Empire, Call of Cthulhu, Star Trek. Mine's gone completely blank. There's probably like, if you want your kids to get involved, there's probably like Dora Explorer RPGs out there. Who knows?
I think this is going to sound so weird. I'm pretty sure, you know the Wendy's in America, the restaurants?
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure they have a tabletop RPG.
What?
Yeah.
Is it like a tabletop version of Overcooked and Plate Up?
I don't know. I haven't read anything.
Or is there
into
actually
it.
deep Wendy lore?
I've just heard of it.
I know I've seen loads of memes of the Wendy's Twitter account going hard on things, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is actually some kind of Wendy's universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
The WCU, Wendy's Cinematic Universe.
Oh.
Coming to a fast food chain near you.
But no, there's so many different systems out there. There's one for the kids show Avatar: Legend of Aang.
Uh-huh.
They've got a tabletop RPG out for that, so you can be a water, air, fire, or earthbender in a campaign.
I haven't googled this, but there absolutely must be a system for Lord of the Rings. I fail to see how there isn't, unless there's some kind of legal IP banning shenanigans going on by the Tolkien estate.
I don't know. I would. There has to be, surely.
I would eat my right shoe if there isn't. And I specify the right because I said earlier today that I'll eat my left shoe if something else isn't happening tomorrow. So twice. But yeah, all sorts of stuff. I mean, most of fantasy these days is based off Lord of the Rings in some way or another.
Yeah.
But yeah. Systems.
Woo!
Did we do a main segment?
I think we've done a main segment.
Oh wow, we did a main segment. That means we can get on the dragon again.
Yay!
We can see the space between space.
Space.
Do you reckon the space between space is like on a macro scale where it's like there's a universe here and a universe there and there's space between them? Or is it like the space between atoms is the same space? What if they're the same space? What if they're different space?
I think you broke my brain.
Yay, for broken brain. Why are we here, Pine?
What do you mean,
Why
why
I just changed the topic of podcast from D&D to the most fundamental unanswered question of existential crises ever.
I was about to
Why are we
say,
here?
are you trying to give me an existential crisis? Like, I'm not having an existential crisis on a podcast.
Why not? I'm sure it'll be entertaining.
I mean,
we're riding a rainbow dragon through the space between space. When else are we going to have an existential crisis? Oh, well, we're in a new segment now. It's player moments, which I completely fucking forgot to prepare for.
Same! But I do have a moment that I've just thought of, which is a DM moment, but I hope you'll let me use it anyway.
I mean, it's part D&D, isn't it?
Yeah. So It's going to sound so selfish, but in my campaign, you've just been to the coronation of the Queen of Sorva, now in power. While you were at the celebrations, it was revealed that there was an attack in the city of some kind, but it wasn't invaders, it was attacks from the inside. And I absolutely loved it when you guys got to the wall in between the section you are in now and the section where all the fighting was happening in. And I dropped the little nugget that was like, there's something happening in this section that is kind of important. And listening to you guys flip between, are we going to split the party? Are we going to go try and help this place because it sounds like they're going to steal something important? Or do we go into the city to go collect our dragon egg that we've left in there?
I mean, no matter what we decided, I'm going to regret it.
Oh, it was so good. I loved it.
The fact that you brought it up now makes me regret it even more.
If
we'd made the right decision, you wouldn't be bringing it up. No,
I just loved the back and forth. I loved the back and forth. But yeah, I'm not going to say much more because obviously we're still in it. But
because we're doomed, right? Oh,
no.
TPK coming.
No.
TPK coming. Oh, damn it. We're doomed. We're doomed. They're going to steal the magical fireball that blows up the entire city and we're all going to die. Ah.
It's just, since you entered the coronation, the actions that have been happening are the first actions that I've sort of set up direct consequences for.
Oh, there's that fucking word again.
Good or bad consequences, either way.
You know what? I'm just going to briefly go to a side here and shout out my boy Mark Humes again. It's not like I'm a fanboy or anything.
Oh, not at all.
When I briefly watched his first campaign on High Rollers, there was this meme where, I can't remember, but he just, every so often, he'd just whisper, consequences. And it's just like, oh, I don't want to be a player in that campaign. And it was so dramatic and impressive and amazing.
Yeah.
I love my boy.
I'd love to watch his stuff, but apparently I'm not allowed.
Soon. Well, not soon. Maybe soon. You can watch it when they start campaign 3.
Yeah, I'll watch campaign 3. Yeah.
But yes, that's my tangent.
Cool.
Over. Oh wait, now I have to come up with my point. I don't know. It's always so fun. I just have so much fun playing this game.
Yeah, it's a shame because it's hard because at the moment we're recording this, we've had to skip a couple of sessions as well, so it's less fresh in our mind.
And it's been ages since we recorded a podcast, so there's quite a few sessions to pick from.
Yeah.
But it's also fun. You know what? I've decided. Mine is from Forest's campaign, the campaign we both play in. Yeah. Where, okay, so your character has a little friend that likes to, join us for the ride inside your mind. And that little friend makes a little show every now and then, and that little friend is also very, very happy to take revenge for the smallest slight. So some time ago, we were in a fight with some of those, what are they called? Not mind flayers. What are the lesser brain tentacly things called? Things that look like Mike Wazowski with tentacles. Anyway, they've got moves that can make you confused. And I got hit by one and then threw my dart, which was meant to be at them, at Pine's character, Vanari, and did damage. And then some nights later, Pine's little brain friend took control of Vanari's body and stabbed me in the chest with a rapier as revenge. And it was like, holy fuck, what's going on? This isn't fair. But then we made up. She was like, if you ever touch this body again, I'll murder you. And I was like, I didn't mean to do it. I'm sorry. We're good friends. Blah, blah, blah. And so several sessions later, we're in this celebration because we've saved this city. And the city's like, yeah, you saved us. You're amazing. Let's celebrate. And somehow Vanari's gone into this agreement where she has to run this little gauntlet thing in celebration, pretending to be one of the things we defeated while everyone hurls fruit at her. and she's in a costume. She hasn't told us she's taking part, and I have no way of knowing it's her. But of course, it's my character who throws like a courgette at her, makes her fall over and knock her head, and make the friend appear again. And it's like, oh great, I'm gonna die. Of course, I'm the one who hit her to do that. It couldn't have been anyone who was lobbing fucking watermelons and knocking people out. No, it was me. Just the fact that happened.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's the thing that I love about that is it's still pretty new for Venari having this person in her head. And she literally does not care. Like, that's half of her personality is she doesn't get attached. She doesn't like really care what happens to herself. So she was like, oh, I'll just run this thing. I don't care what the costume is. I don't care what I'm doing. Oh, fruit lobbed at me? Oh, okay, sure. I think it saved me some money on this thing that I bought. But obviously, she's got somebody else in her mind who doesn't like all that. So there's been some little learning experiences, which is going to be fun. Which well, you weren't there last session, were you?
I missed my first ever session.
Okay, I'm going to update you on something that happened in the end of that last session, which was really fun. You know, it was a really hard battle with some shades.
Yep, I've heard about
that. And you know that, unfortunately, Cardinal fully passed away. Venari also failed 3 death saving throws.
What?
Yeah, so she technically died.
Right.
However, as she was passing away, she got visited by a mind friend again.
Right.
And to come back to life, we made a deal. Which none of the other characters know of, but I mean the players do. So made a deal that she can take over my body for a full 24 hours as long as she doesn't hurt anyone in our party. But also, I now have a hand that's blackened going up the arm. And I have no idea what that does or what the effects of that will be. So that's also fun. That was a fun moment as well.
Man, I missed one of the most exciting sessions of ages. all the time to miss my first D&D session. Fuck that.
I know. Terrible. Especially since we met Marvel Magus.
Oh, Marvel Magus, the Easter egg of Arvaldagus. It wasn't even a character I invented. That's good old Arvaldagus with Evangeline.
It was funny because we were just having a conversation. Well, they were all having a conversation. I didn't go in straight away. They all went in and had a conversation. And then he stepped out because I'd done a thing. And so I introduced myself and I was like, oh, who are you anyway? What's your name? He introduced himself and I was just like face palming like in real life. I was like, oh my god.
Well, obviously, for context, you're the only other person other than Forrest the DM who plays in my campaign to know that.
Yep.
So the Easter egg was basically for you.
Yeah.
And me, obviously, but I wasn't there.
This is terrible but amazing at the same time. I love it.
I've actually just thought of another fun moment that was basically the same kind of thing, but to a much lesser scale. Obviously, what I talked about was just the coincidence that it ended up being me hitting you with the fruit.
Yeah.
We had a moment right at the end of my last session, literally 2 days ago, where there was like a little jokey sleight of hand check between a dwarf and a taller humanoid. And it was just like, oh, I'm going to grab that pouch of coins from your hand just as a joke. And I gave the dwarf disadvantage on the sleight of hand check because of the height difference. And the other one had a really good sleight of hand bonus anyway. And not only did the taller person roll a nat 20, the dwarf then rolled a 1 and a 2. And it's just like, it couldn't be more perfect. It was, the stars aligned.
I love when those moments happen.
That was one that the dice decided. I mean, the dice technically decided mine as well, but I also was involved more in choosing to throw at you that particular time, even though I technically didn't know it was you, but I did. But Malnot didn't.
No, I'm actually glad that you guys still threw fruit at Vanari, because it makes a lot more sense if rather than people trying to avoid.
Oh yeah, we didn't know it was you. We had no idea.
No, I'm glad that everyone played.
I mean, we
like
knew,
way.
but we didn't know.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Fun time.
Is the time I have been looking forward to with anxiety and excitement.
Yes.
And for that, we must take one more ride on the most beautiful, iridescent rainbow dragon of space-timeness.
Yay.
Why? Is that Superman? Why do random themes come to my head when I do this section? Every time I do the transition, I'm like, let's just think of a random theme. Superman is today, the old-fashioned Superman theme. That is Superman, right? I'm not talking out of my ass.
I have no idea.
I really hope that's Superman. I'm not just being an idiot. Anyway. It's quick RP time.
Okay. I'm a little bit worried about this because I haven't really looked at this since writing it. So let's see how this goes.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Do I need anything? Do I need my character sheet?
You maybe, yeah.
I am ready.
Okay. I did bad. Right.
I even have my high rollers dice set ready, just in case.
Erathor, you have not long since emerged from the woods and have begun to travel into wherever it is that you have emerged. Following a path that doesn't look particularly well travelled, you cross over long rolling hills that fill the horizon. And apart from the occasional bit of wildlife that catches your eye, it's very quiet here. A day or two goes by. How would you say Erathor is coping with the wild? Do you think he's very good at gathering food, making shelter?
I'd say he's not awful, but he's not doing things particularly professionally or swiftly. He takes his time to just about get by.
On your third day of travel, the path starts to lead through a small section of woodland. This time of year, the trees are still covered in lush green leaves. The path remains dry and easy to traverse. This woodland is not as vast or as strange as the last one you were in. It's a lot more normal woodland kind of space. A few hours, you assume, into the woods, you hear your stomach groan. You've eaten over the last few days, but there's not been a lot around. And at this moment, your stomach is letting you know you're hungry. And then you realize that your hunger has been reignited by the smell of meat being cooked.
Ooh, meat.
What do you do?
I try to follow the smell.
Okay.
Meat.
You follow the smell and find yourself venturing off the path you were travelling, and it leads you towards a small pond surrounded by willow trees. And on the other side, you see a small hut. Do you continue?
Yes.
The hut looks stable. It doesn't seem particularly well made. Definitely has character and seems to be a bit rickety. And you see that there is smoke drifting up out of the shoddily made chimney at the top of the hut. But as it ascends, you realize it quickly dispenses before exiting the top of the tree line. So it, from further away, you would never know that there was anything being cooked here. There's a small wooden drying rack not too far away from the hut, and it has several pieces of meat on it, as well as a few plants. Underneath it, you see the remains of a fire with just a few embers releasing a small amount of smoke. And as you get closer, you hear a humming coming from inside the hut.
Can I discern anything to do with race or gender or anything like that from the sound?
It sounds like a female humming, like a...
Interesting. I would like to approach and knock.
You approach, and as you knock, you hear the humming quickly stops, and there seems to be a small clatter of things on the inside. And then the door slightly creaks, and you see just a sliver of a young-looking human woman with dark blonde hair peek out the door. Hi, can I? Hello?
Hello. I'm a bit lost, and I couldn't help but smell such delicious aromas coming from your hut, and figured I'd say hi.
Oh,
Hi.
Hi. And you see her kind of like looking around and behind you, and then when she
I have my hands open palmed in like this sort of, not quite up, but just sort of like, I'm not armed, I'm waving, I'm peaceful.
She opens the door a bit more, and you see her dark blonde hair is tied up and back in like a messy bun that seems to be held in place by a small stick or twig. A few loose strands of her hair are tucked behind her ears, and some are falling in her face. She's wearing a loose-fitted long-sleeve top that has some tears in it, and very similar trousers. Simply dressed, but she seems to have decorated herself with a few bits of jewelry that appear to be made of wood and leaves. She says, my name's Nina. Nina Moonbright. What? Who are you?
Well, ask the one question I can answer. My name is Erathor. Where the heck am I?
You're in in some woods. In
I had gathered that much. Where, sorry?
Class?
Interesting. As far as I know, that means nothing to me.
It's the region that we're in. Would you like some food?
That would be very much appreciated.
Okay. She kind of like opens the door a bit to let you in.
I shall take a step in over the thingy. I forgot the word.
The threshold?
That's the one.
Yeah. And you see like her eyes are like have been darting over you and then darting into the woods behind you, and takes another look outside before she closes the door behind you. And inside you can see the hut on the inside is as rickety as it is on the outside. You can see that it consists of a single room that has a small table in the center with a couple of non-matching chairs around it. Pushed into a corner is a straw bed, and on the far side you see a small fireplace with what looks like a stew bubbling away on it.
This is exceptionally charming. place you have here.
Thank you. I had a little bit of help building it, but we weren't very experienced. But it does what it's made to do.
What more could you ask?
Why are you here?
I've been asking myself that. I woke up in some forest a little bit that way, point, because I don't know whether it's north or east or south or west. A couple of days ago, and then I've been roaming these hills and this woodland, and I don't really know what's going on. I don't have any memories.
Oh, that's not good. And she scrambles around a bit and finds like a. You see there was one bowl set up on the table. She scrambles around, finds another bowl that look like they've been carved to a decent extent, but not expertly crafted. And she takes some of the soup, puts it in one bowl, sort of gingerly sets it in front of you, and takes some of another, gives it to herself, puts a wooden spoon down. He goes, well, some things are worth forgetting, but I still don't think it would be nice to forget everything.
Norden, you're most generous for sharing with me your hard-earned food. I hope you never forget this recipe.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. Kind of just cobble together what I have at the time.
Well, I taste it. How tasty is it?
No, it's pretty tasty. It's a nice meat. There's a couple of vegetables that you're not quite sure what they are in it, but it does taste nice.
Well, you're a fine cook and quite modest as well, so you're all right by me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Where are you going then? If you do not know?
Honestly, this is the first point of any interest I've discovered. I suppose you know what's nearby?
There is a town not too far away. The name escapes me. But it's about a day's travel away from here. If you keep kind of going, looks like you've come from the north. You keep kind of going to the southeast. But yeah, it's full of people. Most are nice. Some are not as nice. So just be a little bit wary.
I imagine that sounds about average. Not to be intrusive, but why are you here?
There was an event that happened here not overly long ago that left a lot of people without a home, and I decided that I'd prefer to be secluded here where no one else really goes, rather than in a busy place.
I see. What do you do to pass the time?
I make things. And she kind of just points to around her room. You see there's like a couple of like wooden charms and stuff around, like wind chimes, but they're inside. Then she kind of gestures to the bowls and the chairs and stuff. And she's like making things, and
of course.
There's animals around who make things pretty interesting.
Animals? Seen any wolves?
No, not in these woods.
There was a wolf back where I woke up, and he seemed very intelligent.
Well, if he came from the north and he came from the Whispering Wilds, then that they have they're not very well explored, but they say there's lots of strange creatures, and it's mostly some horror stories that come from there. But I mean, glad that you met a nice one.
Horror stories. Maybe I'm Shouldn't be so eager to remember my past.
It'd be interesting to know how you got there.
True. I don't suppose you recognize this at all? And I show her the ring on my hand.
Not really ringing any bells.
Nice pun.
Oh.
No, not a fan of the pun. Okay, no.
That's good. That's good. Well,
I guess I wasn't a comedian in the past life.
maybe not. Well, I think the sun's due to set not too far away. If you want to stay, the floor might not be the most comfortable, but it's better than being out in the cold.
True enough, and you honour me with your trust. I'd be very delighted to stay somewhere a bit warmer.
That would be nice. Okay.
Is there anything I can do for you?
Not tonight, but if you're any good at hunting, I could use you for gathering food in the morning.
I don't know if I'm any good at hunting. I've just been eating berries.
Well, I've got some equipment. We can test.
Sure, sounds like a plan.
Okay, great. You go on to have a pleasant evening, and you manage to sleep okay. In the morning, she's awake before you, and you she offers you some bread, and not long after you've woken up.
I will take it with much gratitude.
So, want to test your bow skills?
Bow skill. Sure. Give it a go.
And she goes to the corner and grabs a bow, some arrows, and guides you off into the woods. Is Erathor proficient with simple weapons?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll give you all of his weapon proficiencies right now. Dart, dagger, sling, quarterstaff, and light crossbow.
Okay. The hunting doesn't go as well as she'd hoped, and after a while she manages to catch something and goes, well, maybe bows just aren't your thing. I have a couple of other things if you want to try, and she pulls out a sling from a side bag that she's got and passes it to you. And with this, you're not great, but you're better than with the bow. And she says, well, I made a few of these, so you can keep that one if you want.
You are far too kind. I'm sorry for wasting a few arrows there. I hope you can still make use of them.
If not, it's more things to craft, and after a while you clutter up the space and need to get rid of some stuff anyway, so it's fine.
Well, let's give this a go. Oh no, I've already given it a go. Yes. Wait, I've lost myself. Have we used this thing yet, or are we about to?
I think they are about to.
Let's see if this is any better.
So roll me an attack roll with. So just roll a d20, deck plus dex.
14.
14. Yeah, you managed to get a better aim, and you managed to, after a while, take down some. I'll say a rabbit, and you've got that with you.
What's that? I kill a bear? Oh, I'm so good.
Nah.
I'll take a rabbit. Nice. Well, I sort of hold it by the scruff of its neck, proudly handing over to Nina like, I helped.
That's great, thank you. As you're heading back, she goes, Are you wanting to make your way Soon? Or stay for a meal?
If it's not too much trouble, wouldn't mind a little bit more company for a while. Or braving the lonely journey again.
And she with a smile, leads you back to the hut. I have a question. How long do you think Erathor stays in this space with Nina?
Oh, good question. Good question. Thing is, I haven't had myself in the mindset of newly awakened Erathor. I've had him in the mindset of a couple of years have gone by. I might have to let the dice decide.
Okay.
I'll let the dice decide. Where's the dice I want? Well, I rolled a d6 and got a 6. 6 days tops.
Okay.
If she'll let me.
Yes, she does. And yeah, you have a very nice 6 days. And I'm going to say during this time, with you helping her hunt and doing a few training exercises, this is where you get your proficiency with D-sling.
Oh, nice.
This is where you learn to use the sling.
Very nice.
And
could I persuade you to perhaps have her maybe show me the ropes with a dagger as well to skin animals and kill them, humanely, things like that?
Okay. Tell you what. Roll me another d20.
18.
Yes, I will say then. Yes, you do. This is whoops. Yeah, with learning how to skin animals and sort out the meat, taking the meat off the bone and such. And she sets up like on the second day, she sets up a mini not like a mini target that you both use for a bit of training, and she does seem well versed in a bow and blade.
Might I ask where you learnt these skills?
Just say I grew up in class, and once you ventured a bit further out, you'll understand what that means.
Well, perhaps I should get hold of one of these daggers then.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really spare those.
Oh, of course. I wouldn't expect you've done far too much for me already. Maybe that's where Erathor gets his slight knack for sleight of hand. I've got a dagger to steal.
Oh, this could be fun.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh, you said it now. Yeah, she, when you do leave, she seems a bit upset. She goes, I've appreciated your company the last few days. If you ever want to come back and visit, you know where I am.
Of course, I can't express how grateful I am for your help. It's a strange situation to be in, I gather.
Yeah. Good luck with the whole memory thing. I hope some things come back to you.
Me too. But if there's kind people like you in the world, I'm sure I'll manage to make my way.
I wouldn't... Yeah, friendly advice. I wouldn't assume everyone's as kind.
Oh. Is that so?
Have your guard up a little bit while you're...
I'll make getting that
adventuring.
dagger a priority then.
Yeah, you might want to. And she gives you a hug.
Aww.
A tight hug.
I'm just standing like, what is this? It feels nice. And then sort of tentatively do the reciprocation.
Yeah.
It's like pat.
Oh. Yeah, she waves to you as you leave.
Hope to see you again.
You too.
Keep on making stuff. It's all cool.
Thank you. And that is what I have.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love these moments. They're fun.
I'm glad.
They're very fun.
Yeah. I'm
It's
glad
like
you
it's
stayed
just
with her.
sort of not meaningless, but just sort of much more chill. Just like, this is what happened. This is fun.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a. I mean, it is basically literally a prequel story, but I don't know. I'm just rambling. It's fun. I like it.
Yeah.
Glad we came up with the idea.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it is a prequel story.
Damn, I have to come up with one for Amnesty again. Lol.
Yes, and we need to catch up with these recordings.
True. We're still ahead, technically, as of now.
Yes, technically.
As of right now, we're now ahead.
Now. See how long that lasts.
Well, I think that was another podcast.
Yeah.
5 in. Big old 5.
Woohoo!
That's all of the fingers on one hand.
Yeah.
We need 2 hands to count how many episodes we've done now from now on. Amazing.
Oh my god. Well, now that we've got 5, and that's 5 fingers on one hand. High five.
We both did that, didn't we? We were like, we need the sound effect. Let's clap. The only thing is, I clapped behind my mic, and my mic has a cardioid pattern, so it didn't pick anything up.
Oh, we got the sound from mine now.
Amazing. Oh, genius.
Love it.
Oh, dying again. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, stay safe, people. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you all.
Stay safe. Jeez, sort of.
I don't know.
Could give other people existential crises now.
What is the meaning of life?
How did we get here?
I don't know.
Maybe 2 adventurers were riding the interdimensional space-time dragon, and they clapped. And when they clapped, the Big Bang happened. That's how our universe came into existence. Amazing.
It's beautiful.
And then 13.2 billion years later, here we are making a podcast, riding the same dragon.
Woo!
Did we create our own universe?
We did.
I don't know if that's more or less of an existential crisis. Well, that's food for thought. Bye!
Bye!
I will open my character sheet. And try to ignore leveled abilities. If I say try to ignore, I will ignore them. Darkened Dynasty, launch game. Erathor, your favourite character in the world. Because he's the best. And he sparkles.
Sparkle, sparkle.
Have we even talked about the sparkling before?
I don't know whether we have talked about the sparkling before.
Erathor sparkles when he casts spells, and I totally made it his thing. The end.
Oh, beautiful.